Entertained or not, I hope you guys have been enjoying these reviews nonetheless, because this is your host Griever as always. We're bringing you guys episode 6 of Record of Ragnarok review. We're halfway through the season, and unfortunately, before we get underway with the video, I will acknowledge one thing. And it didn't happen this episode as far as I'm aware, but I did get spoiled on one moment that people are talking about. I knew it was going to happen. I knew if I didn't binge watch the whole damn season and get 12 videos out in one day, I knew I'd hear something, right? But it didn't happen this episode, so I assume it's in the next episode, as far as I'm aware. I just know it happens in the Adam and Zeus fight. Apparently there's something that people are calling the PowerPoint presentation, and it's got a lot of people's ire up. Now, I haven't seen that yet, but that being said, I was sort of spoiled on that. So in the next review, maybe I'll acknowledge that. But what I am going to do this time is I'm going to acknowledge a couple of key problems. As we've been doing these reviews, we've been acknowledging some key problems. Now, I did make, once again, a list. So, first off, this is just a gripe on my side. Renaming one of the most badass things. I mean, eye powers are prevalent in so many, and in fact, I think they're almost like, if anybody else gets an eye power in this manga, trust me, no spoilers, but if anybody else gets a goddamn eye power, they're gonna, like, seriously, they need to figure out something other than the goddamn eyes. Seriously. But eye powers are so prevalent in manga and fiction and stuff, right? And one of the most badass names ever was reduced to Divine Reflection. Yeah, no, I don't like that. I want to take a whole point. That might have only been the English dub. I didn't check the subs, but it's Eyes of the Lord, people. It's Eyes of the Lord. That's a badass name. Adam's ultimate ability, the Eyes of the Lord. That is the proper name, and I'm never going to call it Divine Reflection. So that's something that definitely raised my ire, if nothing else. Now, other thing is, I will acknowledge, okay, the illusion of motion in animation, which is what happens when you have a limited budget or limited time frame, and et cetera, right? And we did see instances of it in the Lubu Thor fight and stuff like that, but it was a quick scene here, a quick scene there, and then the next scene was fully animated, so it was sort of like, okay, yeah, their overuse of motion blur lines, their speed lines, I understand why some people don't really care for that, but really it hasn't bothered me thus far. It didn't bother me up until this episode, because in this fight, which honestly, certain things, like I actually like the way they performed Meteor Jab. I really like that idea. I know it looks a little clunky, but I actually really sort of like it with the echo and Meteor Jab. And then boom, 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 and they all turn into animated meteors going at them. I like that idea. I like that style. I like the idea of it. Really, really cool. But for the most part, I will acknowledge that, yes, I still think the fight was animated, so I think the thing that everybody's complaining about must be in the next episode, or maybe even the episode after, depending on how long the Adam versus Zeus fight goes. But as far as this one goes, yeah, I did notice that there was a heavy use of let's use motion lines, let's use speed lines and backgrounds and some hair flapping to make it look like we're actually animating, right? Yeah, so that's usually a trick and a cheat that a lot of, as I said, budget things use, budget animes, any type of animated work will use that, or they'll reuse scenes. In the 90s, that's what they did. The 90s Spider-Man, 5 seasons, trust me, you don't see a new version of Webhead swinging through the city streets. It's always the same ones, right? They made about 15 shots of it, fully animated, and then they reused them for 5 seasons, right? So, I mean, some people call it a gripe, but I didn't care at the time. I was a kid, but yada, yada, yada. Moving on. Point of the matter is that it's not bad, but it was noticeable, so that makes it not great. I'll give you guys that. The Lubu Thor fight, I still think was totally fine. Solid 7, solid 8. And I fluctuate, guys. I can fluctuate that number. Like, I'm just saying that to call it a 5, that's way too low. To call it a 9, that's too high. But overall, if you want to say 6.5, 7, 7.5, whatever, I mean, I'd say, yeah, okay, that's fair, right? I enjoyed it a lot. I'd probably give it a 7.5 for the Lubu Thor fight. Adam vs. Zeus is one of my favorite fights in the series. The only fight on the same tier as Adam vs. Zeus for me is round 4. But that being said, I will admit that the way they were doing the jabbing and all that stuff, like I don't really know how, unless you poured an insane budget into these couple of scenes, how are you going to depict how fast Zeus was moving, and how are you going to animate that so it looked like realistic and the proportions were right and stuff? So yeah, did it look a little a third class animation when they was doing the jabbing and stuff like that? Yeah, okay, I'll give you guys that. Once again, it wasn't stellar. It certainly wasn't stellar. It wasn't 8 out of 10. It wasn't 7 out of 10. That was a little weak. But honestly, I thought that here in episode 6, that was like the weakest part. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but for me, it was like that was the weakest part, was the initial couple of jabs. But when they started getting, and then followed by the Divine Axe. But then when they started getting into the meteor jabs and Adam's counterattacks, then it was looking a lot better. I like the idea of the tick, 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 tick. I thought that was really cool because we saw it in the manga, but I love the fact that they incorporated the time frame. 0.01 seconds. That's how fast Zeus was moving. And 0.001 second, and then blah, blah, blah. And then the time fist, the fist that surpassed time, that there was one shot of Zeus going forward. It was animated in the end because he did throw the fist, but I didn't like the whole we're just zooming in on a still that's got some hair. So I will admit that there was a heavier use on the motion blurs and the illusion of animation than actual animation. So if people want to gripe about that in this episode, I sort of get it. Like this episode, honestly, the hype was there for me, but I think this is probably the weakest point since episode 1. I would call this probably a 6 out of 10 episode, maybe even a 5.5 in all honesty, because you gotta, sometimes when you're looking at the animation, you gotta take your, the hype for the fight out of it. But I don't think I'd drop below a 6. I really don't. Not yet, because I just really don't. I think that this was solid. The OSTs were not as prevalent. Like, the OSTs have been getting better and better and better and more emotional. In this scene, the OSTs were there. I thought they fitted it, but nothing wowed me like the previous episodes. So the OSTs were fine, but nothing that made me go, oh yeah, here we go. What are some other stuff? I'm still pumped to see one of the top 2 fights in the series, and this is one of the top 2 fights in the series. So, yeah, it could have been handled better. Yes, it could have. I'm not gonna be here and just keep jerking off the anime, because there's a lot of hate for it and a lot of negativity. Like, that's not what I'm doing. I'm giving you guys my honest opinion. So when I say an episode's 8 out of 10, it's not because of the negativity. It's because I actually feel it's an 8 out of 10. And I've seen a lot of goddamn bad and a lot of goddamn good animation over the years. So that's what I'm going to give this one, is probably a solid 6. It's probably one of the weakest episodes I've seen to date. But we're halfway through, and I'm hoping that they finish it off better. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't think I had any other notes. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not great. Yada yada yada. Oh, we get to meet Ares finally, who once again, as he's sort of. If you're an anime-only viewer, I doubt anybody who is an anime-only viewer. So I'm just gonna say, Ares is like the whipping boy. Ares is the on the human side, we have Gaul, who doesn't really know much, and she's all like, wow, so surprised, and like, oh my god, is this the case? And she's the emotional one. She's the one who's shocked like we are, because we don't know anything until it's presented to us. And Brunhilde is like the Hermes or the Zeus, going like, well, he's finally pulling that move out and stuff like that. Ares is the hype boy on the god side. We had that the glasses guy for the Thor fight, but then they replace it with Ares for every subsequent fight. Ares is the one always asking about what the human's doing, what is my brother doing, what is this person doing, what do they think they can fight the gods, So he's the hype man on that side, but he's got little knowledge, so he's the whipping boy, whatever. And then the same with on the other side, you have Gaul, is that character on the human. So we finally get introduced to Ares. Good voice acting work and stuff once again. Not really anything else to say on this episode. As I said, I can see why people are a little disappointed. I thought Lubu Thor was fine, but this one is lesser. I think the Lubu Thor fight so far was done better than the Zeus versus Adam, which is sort of disappointing to me once again, because Zeus versus Adam is one of my top fights in the series so far, and I love it. And the fact of the matter is, I really like Zeus and Adam's English VA, Adam's English VA, I believe I already mentioned this in the last review, reminds me of Johnny Young Bosch when he's being like serious Ichigo, and I can sort of hear that hint of, oh, what's your weapon, Chuckles? You know, like that, just that overall monotone but not monotone, that just deep but not deep. It's a perfect voice for Adam, in my opinion, because it's sweet but not salty. It's like, I don't know, like as I said, it's deep but it's not. It's a very, very good voice acting choice for Adam there. Same with Ares, since we got introduced to Ares here. The one last thing. I love the fact that they animated the Shiva fight. I was worried because initially in the manga, one key scene in my opinion that is missing is the fact that when it was announced that Adam was going to be the one in the ring, that's when Zeus like seemed to, you can't really describe the expression, but he basically went, oh, no. And he went down. He was not aware of divine reflection or eyes of the Lord. He was not aware of it, but he had a feeling that Brunhilde was going to pull out a trump card early on to fight one of the weaker gods or whatever, assuming that like Zeus and Odin would be in the later rounds, and she's trying to get some early victories here. She's trying to grab some early victories, and so she's probably pulling out her ace in the hole early, whatever he suspected. He knew that Adam was dangerous. So we didn't get that scene here in the anime, because it wasn't in the last episode, but we do get the scene where he goes up to Shiva, and Shiva's like, no, it's my round, it's my turn. Do you want to fight right now, old man? And it was I really liked the way they handled the scene. The music, the OST was there for it, and just the way, the doom in the background and all that, and it's my turn now, and just constant. I think that was the best we could have hoped, representing that scene from the manga, to give us that feeling of, whoa. I have zero problems with that scene, and that was the opening scene of the episode, and I just thought it was really well handled. I really like that, because there's going to be a lot of people right now, because the anime came out, and a lot of people don't like it because Shiva's representation, and it's still a real religion, and blah, 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 and unlike a lot of the other gods that aren't religions anymore, they're mythologies, Shiva is not still believed in and stuff, so it's a sore spot for a lot of people, and I believe that this particular scene is going to, if they weren't unhappy before, they're going to be bloody pissed at this point. But so I just wanted to note that scene, because that was one of my favorite scenes, and for power scaling reasons and stuff, it's been back and forth ever since that scene happened. Could Shiva have beaten Adam? I can't weigh in on that, because there might be anime-only people right now, but as far as I was concerned back then when this scene happened, I said that this represented the fact that Zeus had to fight Adam. He couldn't let Shiva do it because he didn't want humanity to gain a W. And looking at how the shit kicking that Zeus is taking from Adam, yeah. So either way, once again, the episode not so great, but story-wise, of course, that's from the manga. It's totally fine. So I'm hoping episode 7 steps up the animation game for the rest of the fight, because I'd hate for this fight to be this lackluster when it's one of my favorites. So we'll see what goes around comes around. So like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Didn't want this review to end up being 20 minutes. So like, comment, subscribe. 600 subscribers in the month of June, which we only have about 10 days left in the month of June. And so hopefully we get to 600 by the end of June. That'd be really cool. And don't forget to drink responsibly as always. We will see you guys back here again next time. Peace out, everybody.